And then make your way into a comfortable sitting position. And with your hands, turn your thighs in. So you spin the inner thighs down toward the wall behind, toward the floor. And then weight the knees and the hips down in whatever position you're in. Here, once you have that position established, just put your hands on the back of your pelvis and just notice how, and then go up from the back of the pelvis into the lower back, and just notice how the vertebrae in the lower back, ideally we want them to feel like they're moving into the body and round back, pushing against the skin of the lower back. So there's a slight sense of forward and up in the spine, just at the top of the pelvis in the back of the body. Keep that. Place your hands at your sides. Lightly push down with your fingertips and extend the crown of the head up toward the sky without lifting the shoulders toward the ears. Keeping the shoulder blades down, maintaining this length through the torso. Place your hands lightly up or down on your legs. In a recent study group that I was participating in, a teacher of mine articulated a teaching that I want to share tonight as our theme for the practice. And the teaching was the understanding that from this particular lineage of yoga that everything is touch. So touch is a fundamental aspect to being that we want to cultivate. So we want to think about the ways that the practice touches us, the way that the pose touches us, and also then the way that we touch the body, we touch the breath, and the way that we interact through touch with ourselves as we practice. So sometimes the touch that we're wanting is a light touch. Sometimes it's a tender touch. Sometimes it's a firm touch. Sometimes it's a containing touch. Sometimes it's a stroking touch. Touch has a lot of nuance and a lot of variation depending on what we need at the time and how we interact with ourselves based on that need. Touch, however, in terms of the practice and the kind of touch that we want to cultivate in the practice, the touch is not ever intended to be harsh or strident. It might be firm, it might be containing, but not harsh, and it's not like a push. It's like an invitation. So especially tonight, we're going to do forward bend work, and they're often, forward bends are a place where it's easy to invite a harsher or more demanding touch. So I want you to consider having a lighter touch, and also just to feel into, especially here at the beginning, the kind of touch that is most appropriate for you tonight. So with that in mind, close your eyes. With your senses, feel the body so that you're touching into your form, and just feel already how this pose, this initial sitting position, is touching you and how you're touching it. See if anything needs to shift with that. Feel into the breath. And notice the touch of the breath inside the body. Consider that the touch of the breath, while sometimes not fluid, while sometimes interrupted, is not ever harsh. And then feel into the touch that you're needing, wanting, desiring for the practice. Keeping that in mind, join your hands together at your heart. Feel the touch of the hands one against each other. And feel the contact of the thumbs against the chest. And becoming attuned, becoming sensitive to the touch that we give ourselves in the practice. We'll initiate our time together with a single Om. Take a full breath in. Bow your head over to your heart and notice the impact of that shift. And then release the hands, lift the head. And then we're going to come over and we're going to do cat-cow, either on your hands and knees or standing if that's a better choice for your knees. So one option, some of you may have caught this earlier, is you can do this standing with the feet apart, knees bent, the hands on the hips, and then you round and sway your spine from a standing position. So if that's a better choice for your knees and the pressure of your knees on the ground isn't comfortable, that's a very appropriate option. And then the other option is to come onto the hands and knees. And if you like, have your blanket across the mat to give the knees extra support. Place the hands shoulder distance apart. Lightly spread the fingers. And as you lightly spread the fingers, feel the touch of the hands against the mat and the touch of the mat against the hands. Separate the knees hip distance apart in whatever stance you're in, and feel the contact with the ground through either the feet or the knees, depending on your orientation. And then again, notice the breath. And moving in sync with the breath, as you exhale, tilt the tailbone down, round your spine, release your head so that your chin moves a little bit toward your chest. As you inhale, lift the tailbone, sway your spine toward the front of the body, lift the chin slightly up. Move like this with the breath, linking the movement to the breath. And feeling into the way that the movement touches the body, and the way the breath interacts with your form. And as best you can, embody the touch most useful for you tonight.
Do 2 more rounds. And then end with your next inhale. Chin lifted, looking slightly up. Exhale. And then come over onto your back. So you can take the blanket now and fold it to place behind your head if you like. We're going to do and some leg stretches in this position. So lying down, perhaps support the back of the head with the blanket. Bend the knees, place the feet on the ground. Bring your hands to your pelvis. And just for a moment, just like we did in the previous position, tilt the pelvis forward so that you feel and have a greater curve between the lower back and the ground. And then roll the pelvis back so that you feel the lower back come in contact with the ground. So again, curve, tilt the pelvis forward toward the thighs, and then tilt the pelvis back so the front of the pelvis is moving away from the thighs. One more time. So it's the same rotation, the same work we were doing a moment ago, just a little less movement. And now find the kind of in-between position. So you have a little curve, but not as much as if you tilted the pelvis forward, and not as little as if you brought the lower back completely in contact with the ground. Now maintain that slight curve. Tone the low belly, so draw the muscles from the top of the pubic bone to the base of the navel, down toward the back of the pelvis. Maintain that. Lift the knees one at a time, just up over the hips. So you want your thighs to be a straight line from the hips to the knees. And then either keep your arms at your sides or place your hands lightly on your thighs, the center of your legs, and push your hands and your legs equally and evenly against each other. Breathe. Feel the tone in the low belly, and feel the way the pose touches you and the way you touch into the pose. Is this touch beneficial, useful? And there can be a sense, even when we're working in ways that are not necessarily familiar or easy, there can still be a sense like, oh yeah, this is working, this is good. And that's kind of what we want to feel for. 1 or 2 more breaths. And then exhale. Place the feet on the ground. Pause. So keep that little curve in the back. So you're again not tilting the pelvis back so that the lower back is on the ground, but you're also not tilting it forward, and so that you have a bigger arch in that in-between place. Again, tone the low belly. This time place your arms at your sides. Keeping that pelvis quiet, lift the knees again, just up over the hips. This time we're going to tap the toes. So we'll do the right side 5 times and then the left side. So point your right toes without bending or straightening your right knee. Release at the hip joint and tap the right toes down to the ground and come back up. Make sure nothing else changes. Tap the right toes down, come back up. Keep the low belly toned. Touch, come up. Make sure the knee is exactly as bent as it was at the beginning. And the movement is at the hip joint. Last one. And then when the right leg comes up, pause, tone the low belly. And then 5 times on the left leg. So point the left toes. Simply release at the hip, drop the toes down, come back up. As you tap the left toes down, again, feel the way that the pose is touching the body. Keep the weight even on the sides of the pelvis. 2 more, I think. last one. And then once you come up, bend the knees, place the feet on the ground, pause. Take a breath, feel that impact. So the touch kind of lingers a little bit and there's increased awareness in the low belly. Now stretch the arms out to the sides at shoulder height and turn the arms so that the palms face up. Lift the hips, shift the hips to the right, put the hips back down. So you're a little more on the back, left side of the pelvis. And then lift the knees toward the chest, squeeze the knees together. Now curve the lower back more away from the ground. So you have a deeper curve in the lower back and then tone the low belly. Squeeze the knees together. Anchor your right shoulder. Now we're going to drop the knees toward the left elbow without touching the ground and bring them back up 5 times. So squeezing the knees together, drop the knees to the left, anchoring the right shoulder, and then inhale, come up. So keep the curve in the lower back and tone the low belly. Exhale, take the knees toward the left elbow, squeeze the knees together. Inhale, come back up. Make sure you're moving as you do 3 more, like you have only one leg. So the legs are together, over and up, and then 2 more. And then once you're up, release the feet to the ground, lift the hips up, come back to center, pause there. And then lift the hips and shift the hips to the left. So again, now you're on the back of the right side of the pelvis. Press the left shoulder down, lift the knees toward the chest. So it's not a big in toward the chest because you want to keep a little bit more of an arch in the lower back. So arch meaning the spine moving in and you've got more of a curve there. Squeeze the legs together, keeping the left shoulder on the ground. Exhale, drop the knees toward the right elbow. Inhale, lift back up. Exhale, take the knees over to the right. Squeeze the knees together. Inhale, come back up. 3 more. Over and up. And then over and up, last one. And then place the feet on the ground. Lift the hips, come back to center. Pause. Bring your hands to your hips, and again, just tilt the pelvis away from the ground more so that you have a curve, a deeper curve, a larger curve behind the lower back. Tip the pelvis away from the thighs so that you bring the lower back down to the ground. And do that 2 more times. Tip away, tip down. So you're creating more of a curve in the lower back and then less of a curve in the lower back. And then come into that midway position. So you have some curve there. Now without using your hands, draw your right knee toward your chest. Bring it in as much as you can while maintaining the curve in the lower back. Interlace your hands behind your thigh. As you hold the thigh, notice the touch of the hands against the leg and lightly touch the hands with the leg as you touch the leg with the hands. Flex the right foot, and now stretch the right leg as straight as possible. Bend. Stretch the right leg as straight as possible. Push the thigh lightly into the hands. Bend. Do 3 more like this, noticing the way the pose is touching the muscles on the back of the leg. And notice the way the mind is touching the experience. Last time, straighten the leg. And then when you've bent, release the hands. Put the right foot on the ground. Pause. Again, feel into the curve at the lower back. And now without making the curve, without lessening the curve, draw the left knee toward your chest. Interlace your hands behind the middle of the thigh. And keeping the weight even across the back of the pelvis, flex your left foot. Stretch the left leg straighter and bend. Stretch the leg straighter and bend. And pay attention to, again, the touch of the pose on the body, the touch of the hands on the leg, and the touch of the leg against the hands. And invite, again, the touch to be that which is most needed in the practice now. Last time. And I want you to bend your left leg, release the hands, put the left foot on the ground. Now extend both legs straight on the floor. Flex the feet. Press the backs of the thigh bones down, even if that makes more of a curve in your lower back. And keeping the backs of the thigh bones down, feel the weight even across the back of the pelvis. And now, without moving your left leg, bend your right knee toward your chest. Maintain the curve behind the lower back. Interlace your hands behind the center of the thigh. Flex the foot. Now, without disturbing the left leg, stretch the right leg straighter. We're going to hold here for a few breaths, so it doesn't have to go all the way straight. It's more important that you're working in a way where the pose's touch on the body is useful, beneficial, not too much, not too little, the Goldilocks principle. One more breath here. Now, keeping the leg just as it is, release the left hand without lifting your left hip. Now, open the right leg out to the right. Support the right leg with the right hand, putting the right elbow on the ground. And then lengthen through the inside edge of the right leg, from the inner thigh to the inner edge of the foot. One more breath. And then use your right hand to help the leg back up. Without using your hands, bend your right leg. Stretch it straight. Take a moment here, press the back, flex the feet, and press the backs of both thighs to the ground. Notice the curve you have in the lower back. That's totally okay. Tone the low belly. Keeping the weight even on both sides of the pelvis, and without using your hands, bend your left leg without disturbing your right leg. Catch the back of your left thigh with your hands, flex your foot, and then extend the left leg straighter, tuning into the way that the practice is touching the body. Notice the touch of the breath. And notice the way the mind is touching the experience, the story it's telling. And instead of paying attention to the mind's story, tune more deeply into the touch. Hands against leg, leg against hands, pose on the body. One more breath here. And now taking the right hand to the right hip, glue the right hip down. So without lifting the right hip, now take the left leg out to the left. Support the left leg with the left hand and place the left elbow on the ground so that that arm's really steady. And then lengthen along the inside edge of the left leg. Notice the touch of the back of the pelvis on the ground. Keep that same curve in the lower back. 2 more breaths. And then using your left hand, help the leg back up, then release the hand, bend the leg. Just for a moment, stretch the left leg straight, both legs straight. Press the backs of both thigh bones down to the ground. You really want to feel the touch of the backs of the legs against the ground here. And then bend your knees, roll to your right side, and come all the way up to stand. You can move the blanket off your mat on your way. So now, standing facing the long edge of the mat, stand with the feet a few inches apart. And I'm really into the shoulder circles right now. So with the feet a few inches apart and the toes pointing straight ahead, lift the shoulders all the way up to the ears. Move the top of the upper arm bones back, drop the shoulders down, roll the tops of the upper arm bones forward, and lift the shoulders up, tops of the upper arm bones back, shoulder blades down. Do this a few more times. Forward, up, back, down, forward, up, back, down. Last time, forward, up, back, and down. And then, once you're down, now we'll go the other way. Move the tops of the upper arm bones back, lift the shoulders up, draw the tops of the upper arm bones forward, drop the shoulder blades down. So now we go back, up, forward, down. A couple more times. Back, up, forward, down. Do one more. And then release the circles, keeping the legs as they are. Inhale, take the arms to just underneath shoulder height. Now rotate the whole arm so that the palms face up. Reach the thumbs slightly back toward the wall behind you and roll them a little bit more down toward the ground. And then inhale, take the arms up. As you take the arms up, continue to turn the triceps toward the head. Stretch up, and then rotate the arms to the sides and sweep them all the way back down. A couple more like this. Inhale to shoulder height. Exhale, rotate, reach the thumbs back and down. And then keep this rotation. Inhale, take the arms overhead. It's like the pinky fingers come a little closer together overhead, and then turning the arms out. Exhale, sweep them down. Inhale to shoulder height. Exhale, rotate. Inhale, up. Exhale all the way down. One more time. Inhale, exhale, inhale, up, and then exhale all the way down. From here, standing side bend, so step your feet right together. Inner edges of the big toes touch. You can either put your right hand on your right thigh and just lift your left arm, or you can lift both arms. So take the arms out to shoulder height, rotate both arms so that the palms face up, and then lift either the left arm or both arms overhead. If it works for you, interlace your fingers, point your first finger up. Now take the weight all the way back into the heels. Keeping the weight back in the heels, shift your hips to the left, lean over to the right. Push down into both heels. Keep shifting the hips to the left, lean right. Stretch out through the left fingertips. And then inhale, come up. Change the interlacing of your fingers if your arms are overhead. If you were doing one arm, this time your left hand stays along your thigh and your right arm's overhead. Inhale here, and then shifting the hips to the right, lean to the left. Lengthen all along the right side of the torso. And stretch out through your right fingertips. Even like kind of use your left hand as a bit of a weight to help pull more length along the right side, lightly. And then inhale back up. Release the hands, exhale. Sweep the arms down. Utkatasana, chair pose. So keeping the legs together, you can either have your hands on your hips, arms straight out, or stretch the arms again up alongside the ears. Now shift the weight back into the heels, and keeping the weight in the heels, bend at the ankles, the knees, and sit down like you're about to sit in a chair. Keep the weight really back in the heels. So here, the pelvis tilts forward a little bit. So let the pelvis tilt forward toward the thighs a little bit, and then tone the low belly. From there, lengthen the front line of the torso, stretch up, and push into both heels, stand up, legs straight, turn the arms to the sides, and sweep them down. Now separate the feet hip distance apart. Our first forward bend. We're actually going to start in a very kind of similar position. So with the feet apart and your toes pointing forward, bend your knees about halfway, and then hinge from the tops of the thighs
and tilt forward so that the lower belly comes toward the thigh bones. And you've got more or less a sensation of a curve in the lower back. Place your hands on your legs just above or below your knees. Now keep this shape in the spine, lightly tone the low belly. Then without shifting the torso, stretch the legs straighter. They don't have to go all the way straight. And then pause there. Keeping the weight even across the feet. Feel the touch of the pose on the backs of the thighs. One more breath. Lengthen the front line of the torso. And now, without using your hands, put your hands on your hips, push into your heels. Inhale, come up. Exhale. And then as you inhale, step or lightly hop the feet wide apart. Triangle pose, Trikonasana. So with the feet really wide, turn your left foot slightly in. Rotate your right leg and foot out. Micro bend your right knee and turn your knee to face your middle toes. Stretch your arms to the sides. Rotate the whole arms so that the palms face up. Take the thumbs back a little bit, roll them down toward the ground. And then turn just your palms back down to the ground. Inhale here, and now as you exhale, reach out to the right. Hug your right hip underneath you, and take your right hand to your shin or your ankle. Stretch your left arm straight up, or put the left hand on the hip if that's better for your shoulder. Anchor your back heel. Press the big toe side of your front foot down. Scoop your front hip underneath you. And lengthen along the inside edge of the right leg. Draw both shoulder blades away from the ears. Lift the chest. And then pushing into both heels. Inhale, come all the way up. Exhale, release the arms. Turn the feet. Pause. And then the second side. So turn the right foot slightly in, take the left leg and foot out. Micro bend the left knee, face the left knee toward the middle toes of the left foot. Inhale the arms out to shoulder height. Exhale, rotate the whole arm so that the palms face up, reach the thumbs back and roll them down, and then turn just the hands toward the ground. Inhale here. As you exhale, stretch out, and as you stretch out, hug your left hip underneath you. Take your left hand down to your shin or ankle, stretch your right arm up. Breathe. Feel the pose touch you, and you touch the pose. Especially feel into the touch of the outside of the back foot against the ground and the big toe side of the front foot. Feel the touch of the left buttocks against the pelvis. Draw the shoulder blades away from the ears and feel the shoulder blades deeply touch into the upper back. And feel all the kind of instruction points as opportunities to touch into the body, the breath. And then pushing into both heels, inhale, come all the way up. Release the arms, turn the feet. Inhale, step or hop the feet together. Utkatasana, so big toes touch. Inhale, hands, hips, out at shoulder height, palms down, or palms face each other, arms overhead. And then exhale, bend at the knees, bend at the ankles, the knees, and the hips, sit down. Keep the weight back into the heels. And then lightly tip the pelvis slightly forward. So again, you have more of a curve in the back, and it feels like you have more of a curve than that you're rounding. You can, for tonight, or for today, this practice, you can exaggerate that curve a little bit. Now tone a low belly, lift the chest, lift the chin. Feel the shape in the back, push into the heels, stand up, and then release the arms to the sides. Separate the feet hip distance apart with the toes pointing straight ahead. Again, we're going to start in that position roughly for the forward bend. So bend the knees a bit. Place the hands just on top of the knees or below the knees and come over so that the top of the low belly touches the tops of the thighs. So you want to feel like there's deep contact there, and you bend your knees as much as you need to have that happen. Curve the lower back into the body, so every vertebrae of the spine moves more into the body. And if it works for you, you can slide your hands down your shins toward your ankles. Keep that, and then extend the legs straighter without changing the shape in the spine. So there's length along the front of the torso. And most importantly, you're tipping the pelvis forward over the thigh bones and then toning the low belly. Again, you don't want to feel this right at your sitting bones. You want to feel this in the center of the thigh muscles, the backs of the thighs, hamstring muscles. Bend the knees a little bit more. Put the hands to the hips. Inhale, come up. Exhale. Parsvakonasana. Step or hop the feet really wide apart. Turn the left foot slightly in. Rotate the right leg and foot out. Inhale, stretch the arms to the sides. Rotate the whole arm so that the palms face up. And then turn just the hands down. From here, deeply bend your right knee, and your right knee straight over your middle toes. Keeping your back foot firmly planted, bring your right forearm to your thigh, put your left hand on your hip, or you can stretch your left arm straight up. Keep the outside edge of the left foot anchored. Point your front knee straight over your middle toes. Draw the shoulder blades away from the ears. And then if you like, you can take the right fingertips to the ground inside or outside your front foot. Breathe. As you breathe, keep the work in the legs strong. Lengthen the right side of the torso. Descend the shoulder blades. Take your head back, lift your chest, lift your chin. Push into your heels. Inhale, come up. Exhale, turn the feet, lower the arms. Second side. Turn the right foot slightly in. Take the left leg and foot out. Inhale, the arms to shoulder height. Exhale, rotate the arms so that the palms come up. Take the thumbs back a little bit and turn them down a little bit more. And then maintain that work in the arms and turn just your palms to face the floor. Then bend your left knee deeply, keeping your right heel anchored. And take your left forearm down, stretch your right arm up, or put your right arm on your hip. Again, feel into the touch, the outside of the back foot and the ground. The touch of the buttocks on the left hip against the pelvis so that the left knee faces straight forward. Notice the touch of the breath. And then maybe take the left hand down inside or outside the front foot if you did that on the first side. Wherever you are, lift the chest, move the head back a little bit, lift the chin slightly. And for the next breath or two, feel into the touch of the body and the pose on the body, and the breath, moving in and out. Push into both heels. Inhale, come all the way up. Exhale, lower the arms, turn the feet. Inhale, step or hop the feet together. So right together, big toes touch, heels apart, Utkatasana. So again, arms up. If your arms are getting tired, just put your hands on your hips. We're doing this much more for the leg work than for the work in the arms and the shoulders. So wherever you are, inhale, exhale, bend the ankles, knees, hips, sit down. As you sit down, shift the weight back into the heels. Tilt the pelvis, I think it's better from the side view. Tilt the pelvis a little bit forward so the low belly comes toward the tops of the thighs, but then just draw the low belly lightly back. Feel like every vertebrae of the spine is moving forward from the back of the body toward the front of the body. Lengthen the front line of the torso, lift the chin, push into the heels, stand up, take the arms to the sides. Again, separate the feet, have the toes point straight forward. Uttanasana, bend the knees,
Lean forward. As you tilt forward, bring the low belly toward the tops of the thighs. Hands above, below the knees, maybe down, hold the ankles. Maybe you'll keep the fingertips on the ground if the muscles in the backs of the legs are happy with that. Feeling the whole spine in toward the front of the body. Tone the low belly, lengthen the front of the torso. So your torso feels just like in Utkatasana, the previous pose, and then stretch the legs straighter. They don't have to go all the way straight. Stretch them straighter. You're maintaining this dip in the spine from the back of the body toward the front of the body. Draw the shoulder blades away from the ears and feel into the length on the front of the torso. And then bend the knees a little bit, put the hands to the hips. Inhale, stand up. Exhale. Warrior one. Inhale, step or lightly hop the feet wide apart. Put your hands on your hips. This time turn your left foot 60 degrees in. Rotate the right leg and foot out. And turn the torso to face the short edge of the mat. Now really strongly touch into the back heel and feel the back heel deepen contact with the earth. It's like, how do I make the back heel heavier while at the same time bringing the outside of my back hip more forward and the back of my rib cage more forward. So you have to turn the foot and the leg enough to make that happen. Keeping the hands on the hips, and without changing the contact of the back heel on the ground, bend your front knee deeply. Make sure your front knee is directly over your front heel. Keep turning the left side of the torso more forward. And then you can keep the hands on the hips or stretch the arms to the sides, turn the whole arm so that the palms face up, and then inhale, sweep the arms overhead. Press down into the outside edge of the back heel. Bend your front knee straight over the middle toes and swing the left side of the torso more forward. Now lengthen the whole front line of the body. Push into both heels. Inhale, stretch your right leg straight. Exhale, turn your feet. Lower your arms. And then line up your toes. Put your hands on your hips. Change sides. So swivel the right foot and leg around 60 degrees. Turn the left foot and leg out 90 degrees. And walk the left foot a bit to the left. So again, you can turn to face the short edge of the mat in the back. Really strongly plant your back heel. Really press the top of the right thigh bone back so that you can sink the back heel more fully into the ground. Turn the outside of the right hip and the right ribs more forward. Inhale. Exhale, bend your front knee, your left knee without changing your right heel. As you keep the right heel contact in the ground, feel your left heel also sink more fully down into contact with the earth. Drawing your right ribs more forward, stretch your arms to the sides. Rotate the whole arm so that the palms face up, and stretch the arms overhead if that's what you did on the first side. Breathe. And feel the touch of the breath. Where it touches the body, how it touches the body. And then lengthen the front of the torso to give a little more space for the breath. Push into both heels. Stretch your front leg straight. Exhale, turn the feet, lower the arms. Inhale, step or hop the feet together. Last one, Utkatasana. So again, put your hands on your hips or just have the arms straight out in front of you if your shoulders are tired. Or take the arms up overhead. So arms to the sides, rotate, sweep the arms up. Inhale, exhale, bend, and sit down. So keep the weight back in the heels, bend the knees, the hips. Notice that this is really the starting position that we're using for the forward bends tonight. As you squeeze the legs together, tip the pelvis a little more forward over the thigh bones and hug the low belly in.
As you keep the low belly tone, lengthen the front of the body. There's this sense that the whole spine is forward into the body and not rounded out. No vertebrae is rounded out. Lift the chest. And then pushing into your heels, inhale. Come up, exhale. Step the feet apart. Again, bend just like you were, or maybe not quite as much. Take the hand, tip the pelvis forward, take the hands to the thighs, to the shins, ankles, the low belly, lengthen the front of the torso. Stretch the legs straighter. So now, if you have the hands more toward your lower shins or your ankles, then from here, keeping the pelvis tipped forward and the low belly toned, bend your elbows to the sides and release the torso, extending the crown of the head toward the toes. So the only thing that's changed is kind of the shape of the torso, but the action in the body is very similar to what we were doing, the work in the pose, the touch in the pose is very similar. One more breath. Bend the knees, put the hands to the hips, lift the chin, inhale, up. Exhale. Extend pyramid pose or Parsvottanasana. Inhale, step the feet apart, maybe slightly narrower than we have been doing. Put the hands to the hips. Spin the left leg and foot around 60 degrees. Turn the right leg and foot out 90. And again, move the right foot to the right, just like we did in Warrior One, so that you can easily face the torso to the front of the mat. Slightly bend your front knee. Push your back heel down. So you feel the slight bend of the front leg create some instability. And if that's the case, tone the muscles of the legs without straightening the leg more. Keep the hands in the hips, or if your shoulders are happy, you can catch your elbows behind you. Either way, lengthen the front line of the torso. Keep that lift. Shift your hips back. Tip the pelvis forward over the tops of the thighs. So you come into kind of a half forward bend position. From here, tone the low belly, but then lengthen the front of the torso. You can, from here, just stay here. This is a very good place to work. And if your muscles, especially your back muscles, tend to be a little slacker, or you have a lot of flexibility in the thigh, this can be in the back of the thigh, on the right leg, this can be a really good place to stay. Otherwise, keeping the low belly toned, just like we did in the forward bend, you would turn the torso over the legs so that the top of the head points, in this case, toward the right big toe. Keep the tone in the low belly. Keep the pelvis tipping forward so that the torso is the forward bend is initiated from the bottom of the pelvis, the tops of the thighs, not in the lower back or the upper back. Push into your heels, lift your chin. Inhale, come up. Exhale, turn the feet. Line the toes up. If you are holding your elbows, put your hands on your hips. And then the second side, so swivel the right leg and foot around 60 degrees. Turn the left leg and foot out 90 and move the left leg a bit to the left. Make the back leg really long, strong, and straight. And turn the right hip more forward. Micro bend your left knee and push into your left heel. So you really feel the touch of the feet against the mat, against the earth ultimately. And then lengthen the front of the torso. So you feel like the torso shape is a little more like Utkatasana, chair pose that we've been doing consistently. And then keeping that length in the torso, if you held your elbows, change the hold of the elbows. And then tip the pelvis forward over the top of the thigh so your low belly comes closer to your left thigh. Maintain that shape, hug the low belly in. Lengthen the front line of the torso. Create that feeling of the spine moving in. Keep the left hip in line with the left heel, so the left sitting bone, left heel line up, and then either stay here or lower the torso over the leg without releasing the low belly, but more specifically without tipping the pelvis backwards. So you keep the pelvis tipping forward over the thighs, and feel the touch of the pose on the body. Embody the intentional touch that you're most needing tonight in this practice. And then pushing into the heels, lift the chin. Inhale, slowly come up. Exhale, turn feet. Inhale, step the feet together. Face the short edge of the mat. Separate the feet last, standing forward bend, Uttanasana. So like we've been doing, bend the knees, lean, tip forward so that the torso comes over the thighs. And you might even get more of the torso against the thighs here. And then there's length along the torso in a sense that every vertebrae of the spine moves into the body. So you feel the vertebrae touch in instead of rounding out against the skin on the back. Hold the low shins or ankles if that's available to you. And then toning the low belly, keeping the pelvis tilted forward. Stretch the legs straighter. Keep the arms straight. So you've got straight legs, straight arms, and a straight back. So again, either stay here or keeping the pelvis tilting forward over the thigh bone so that the front of the pelvis is coming toward the thighs and the low belly is toned. Maybe now bend the elbows, and without changing anything else, just extend the crown of the head toward the ground. Feel the touch of the pose on the body. Feel the touch of the breath. So from here we're going to do downward facing dog. You can either stay in the standing forward bend or take child's pose if you're not doing downward facing dog. And then if you're doing down dog, bend the knees, place the hands flat, shoulder distance apart. Step one foot and then the other way back. Adho Mukha Svanasana. Look at your hands, make sure that the hands are at the same height on the mat and evenly spread. And then again, feel the touch of the hands against the ground, especially touching down at the base of the index fingers and the heels of the thumbs. Separate the feet a few inches apart. Feel the touch of the balls of the feet against the ground, especially the ball of the foot at the big toe side. Then lightly bend the elbows. Turn the triceps toward the head. Pull the hips strongly back, away from the wrists. Then press the tops of the thigh bones toward the wall behind you so that your toes get a little lighter on the ground. Take 2 more breaths here, feeling into the touch of the pose on the body. Body on the pose, the breath through the body. And then come and lie down on your stomach, so you can do that in whatever fashion makes sense for you. And once you're on your stomach, pause here. Stretch the legs straight back behind you. So one of my intentional repetitions through this session of practice is this version of Shalabhasana, sometimes called Makarasana, where we interlace the hands behind the head. So extend the legs straight back behind you. Anchor your toes. Tone the low belly from the buttocks. So then interlace bring your forehead to the ground. Interlace your hands behind the thick part of the skull, not right near the neck, but more right on the center of the back of the head. Pause. So it doesn't matter how high you lift, but we are going to lift the head, chest, and the elbows.
So drop the shoulder blades away from the ears, and then keeping the work in the lower half of the body. When you're ready, lift the head, chest, and the elbows up. Breathe. Soften the jaw and the eyes and just feel where this is touching you. Where is this pose impacting the body? And then exhale, slowly come down. Change the interlacing of the fingers behind the head. Adjust the legs. You're right on the center of the thighs. And anchor the toenails. Scoop up the low belly. So it's just pulling the low belly back like we've been doing toward the back of the pelvis. Firm the muscles of the buttocks. Drop the shoulder blades down. And then when you're ready, which is now, lift the head, chest, and the elbows. Meaning just that sometimes if I were really asked to wait until readiness, I might never lift the head, chest, and the elbows up here. One more breath. And then exhale. And come down. Release the arms into a comfortable position. Turn the head to one side. Take a couple of breaths. Feel the touch of the body here against the ground. Feel the touch of the breath. And then lifting the head, turn the head the other way. Take a couple of breaths here. Now this time bring your chin to center, to the ground. Feel the touch of the floor against the chin mat. Roll right onto the center of the thighs. Again, will tend to be more to the inside, so come right on the center of the legs. Reach your fingertips back toward your feet with the palms turned up. This time we'll lift the head, chest, and the legs. The options are to just lift the head, chest, and the arms, or to lift the head, chest, and one leg the first time and the head, chest, and the other leg the second time. And that's if lifting both legs puts too much strain in the lower back for the moment. So tone the low belly, firm the muscles of the buttocks. Strengthen the legs by kind of squeezing them slightly toward each other without really moving them. Draw the shoulder blades away from your ears. And then again, as you're ready, or now, lift up head, chest, arms, and legs. Lift the tops of the thighs up. Draw the tops of the shoulders away from the ground. One more full breath. And then exhale, slowly lower down. Roll again to the center of the thighs. Bring your chin to the floor. Walk your fingertips toward your feet. So we're going to do the second round momentarily. Tone the low belly. Firm the buttocks. And then keeping that with the intention of feeling the touch of the breath, the body on the pose on the body, and the mind touching the experience. So the mind tends to narrate the experience, but if we tune into the touch, then we direct or pay a little less attention to the mind. So when you're ready, again, up you come. Head, chest, arms, legs, or not legs, depending on the version. If you're lifting the legs, lift the tops of the thighs. Keep the weight even across the front of the pelvis. Send the shoulder blades. Reach the fingertips toward the toes. Curl the shoulders back. And then exhale. Slowly come down. Place the hands under the shoulders. And then come over and sit. So you can press to the hands and knees. Come and sit. And here, take a blanket probably. So Baddha Konasana. So perhaps fold up a blanket and sit on it. The other option is to sit without support and just adjust how close you, bring your legs.
So with the legs extended, bend the knees, open the knees to the side, and bring the soles of the feet together. So especially tonight, it's really not so much about how close you get your heels to the ground, to you, to the base of the pelvis, but more that you can work in a way that is okay with the knees and gives you the opportunity to really push the heels together. So sometimes if we're working too close, then we're going to lose that capacity to push the heels together. So you come into whatever makes sense for you. And then again, with the soles of the feet together, lightly draw the toes back and really push the heels together. Lengthen the insides of the thighs. Put your hands at your hips beside you. Move the head back, descend the shoulder blades, and curve the entire spine forward into the front of the body. So it feels, again, like chair pose, Utkatasana, in the torso. From there, some amount, hinge forward, keeping that. Come back up. So all you're doing is bringing the pelvis forward toward the thighs and then back. This is really not about how far forward you come. It's just that sense of hinging from the thighs, from the tops of the thighs, the bottom of the pelvis, and that crease is the initiator space for the forward bends. So a couple more times. And then last one. Good, come back up. Grab the outsides of the knees with the hands. Bring the knees together. Stretch the legs out straight. So now we're going to do our first seated forward bend, Paschimottanasana. So just to show from the side, when you sit here, you want to be able to sit with the pelvis neutral, which means you have a little curve in the lower back. And there's no sense that you've rolled onto the buttocks or on the tailbone, and that the lower back is rounded backwards, or that the upper back is concave. The upper chest is concave. So perhaps it's useful here to sit up on something. If you're sitting on a blanket, then come a little more forward toward the front of the blanket so you get that capacity to tip the pelvis forward. And then with the legs out straight, take your hands for a moment at your sides. Turn the legs, if you haven't already, so that the knees and the feet point straight up. And then with your hands at your sides, arch the spine more toward the front of the body so that you're lifting, again, every vertebrae of the spine forward and slightly up. And there's this touch of length along the front of the torso. Then keep that length and just hinge forward, come back up. Hinge from the tops of the thighs, come back up. So the hinge is drawing the low belly toward the thigh bones, come back up. Low belly and tops of the thigh bones touch, come back up. Keep doing that 2 more times. And then stay here once you've come forward. So as you come forward, press the backs of the thigh bones down. Feel that you've tipped the pelvis and there's contact between the low belly and the tops of the thighs. Then tone the low belly. And then arms are at your sides. You can walk them a little more forward and lengthen the front of the torso. So have the feeling sense that you're still doing Utkatasana, but you're bringing more and more of the lower part of the torso in contact with the thighs. One more breath. And then inhale, walk the hands back in, come up. Exhale, lie on your back. So you can take the blanket that you've been sitting on for behind your head. And then we're going to do Supta Padangusthasana one more time. So with the knees bent and the feet on the ground, pause. Create the position of the pelvis that allows for a little curve in the lower back. Keeping that curve in the lower back. Stretch the left legs, stretch both legs straight on the ground.
Separate the feet a few inches apart, flex the feet, and press the backs of the thigh bones to the ground, fully making contact there. So feel the touch of the backs of the legs on the ground, and curve the lower back as much as you need to away from the ground to create the thigh bones touching. Now anchor the left leg, and without shifting the pelvis, draw the right knee toward the chest. No hands. Take the hands behind the thigh, push the thigh into the hands, stretch the leg straight. Here, because now we're moved through much of the practice, stretch the right leg as straight as possible, pushing the thigh into the hands. Keep that curve in the low back, tone the lower belly, and then maybe if the leg is straight, draw it in toward you a little bit more. That's highly unnecessary. If you are drawing the leg in, really feel the leg, the thigh, pressing into the hands as you use your arms to draw the leg in a little bit more. One more breath. And then bend the knee, release the hands, extend the right leg straight, pause. Feet flexed, press the backs of the thigh bones down, keep a curve in the lower back. Feel the weight even across the back of the pelvis, and maintaining the touch, the back of the pelvis against the ground and the back of the right thigh against the ground. Without using your hands, draw your left knee toward you. Catch the back of the thigh with your hands, press the thigh into the hands, flex the foot, stretch the leg straight. Breathe. So it's a really good idea. This is a really great position to practice, and you can do this with the right leg bent at any time. We're really wanting to make sure that we can have the minimal flexibility of the extended leg, like this in the air, 90 degrees from the ground. So now, tuning into the touch of the pose in the body. If the leg is straight, maybe draw it in toward you a little bit more for a few more breaths. Not necessary. Last breath here. Release the hands, bend the left leg, extend the left leg straight, pause there for a moment, feet flexed, backs of the thighs down. And then one more, last one, seated forward bend. So roll to your side, sit up, again take the support. If you were using it earlier, sit Paschimottanasana a second time. So feet apart, legs straight, flex the feet. So if you're sitting on something, the backs of your thighs are not going to touch the ground, but you are intending them to move in that direction without straining the knees. So with the backs of the legs lengthening and the feet lightly flexed, put your arms at your sides. Draw the whole spine forward so that again you feel a lift in the length along the front of the torso. Keeping that length, so feeling into that touch. Hinge from the tops of the thighs. Bring the front of the pelvis forward against the tops of the thigh bones. Curve the entire spine in. So there's really no sense of rounding in the back at all here. And then keep that tone the low belly and place your hands in front. So you can walk your hands some amount forward and you can continue to lean forward, but here I want you to keep that sense of straightness in the spine and length along the front of the torso. So feel into that, the touch of the length in the interior of the body and along the front of the torso in particular. And now maintaining that tone of the low belly. And then, if you want, it's not necessary, bend the elbows to the side and extend the crown of the head forward over the toes. So you come more forward along your legs. There might be a bit of rounding, but that's not the focus. You're really focusing on keeping the length of the torso and putting as much of the front of the body on your legs as possible. One more breath. Inhale, come on up. Exhale, lie back down on your back. Bend your knees, place your feet on the ground. Pause. So now we're going to do a couple of recovery positions. So the first one is for the psoas muscle to help balance the pelvis. So with the knees bent and the feet on the floor. Sorry, just changing the sequence. We're actually going to do windshield wipers next. So take the feet as wide as the edges of the mat. Either stay here with the arms or stretch the arms out to the sides, palms up at shoulder height, or extend the arms overhead, palms up, hands relatively shoulder distance apart. Now keeping the left knee pointing straight up in the air, turn your right leg in, let your right hip lift and drop your right knee toward your left heel. You should not feel any discomfort in the knee here. And if you're working with knee things, then I suggest you not do part 2. If you have no knee things, then you have the option of picking up the left foot, putting the left foot on the right thigh, just near the knee, just above the knee, and then using the weight of the left leg to invite the right leg to turn more in. And everybody extend the right thigh away from the torso and reach out through the right fingertips. If you cross the left foot over, uncross it. Lift the knees back up. Pause at the starting position, so feet apart, toes point forward, knees up. And then without moving the right knee, drop the left knee toward the right foot. So you're letting your left hip lift and you're turning your right thigh in. Then, if you went further on the first side, pick up the right foot, use it to weight the left thigh down and reach the left knee away from you as you extend out through the left fingertips. Then uncross the right leg, lift both knees up, pause, and take the arms to the sides. Walk the feet a little closer into you. And now we'll do another one that doesn't really have a name. So keep the right leg as it is. Open the left knee a bit to the left and take the left foot underneath the right leg near the right hip. So grab your left toes with your right hand. And if that feels like it's too much for the knee, you don't have to catch the foot. You can just have less bend in the knee. And then option 1 is to stay here. Option 2, you want to keep weight really, relatively speaking, even across the back of the pelvis. Option 2 is to draw the right knee toward the chest, and you can catch. I like to put my hand behind the knee and then just kind of use the weight of the arm to draw the right knee toward the right shoulder. Feel the touch of the pose. Probably somewhere on the top of the left thigh. Feel the touch of the breath. And while we'll tend to concentrate our exploration of touch where there's greater sensation, see if you can expand the exploration of touch to encompass the whole body in the pose, in the position. So that the place of greatest sensation becomes just one aspect in the landscape of sensation. And then release the left hand, put the right foot on the ground, release the right hand. pick the left foot up, pause, both feet on the ground. And then the second side. So opening the right knee to the right, slide the right foot underneath the left leg. Catch the right foot maybe with your left hand. Let that thigh come down toward the ground as best you can. And the left hip might lift a little bit here, but anchor down again as much as possible. And then lift the left knee in. Again, I just put the hand behind the knee, and then I don't really even have to hold. The knee closing there will give enough of a grip to hold the hand in place, and I just really let the weight of the arm guide the left knee toward the left shoulder. Explore how the body is touched by the position, how the body is touched by the breath, how the practice is touching you, how you are touching the practice. Am I embodying the kind of touch I most needed for this practice? Two more breaths. And then release the left leg first, then the right. Pause, both feet on the ground. And then maybe just draw the knees a little bit in over the chest, so you feel the weight of the legs on the back of the pelvis, and maybe circle the knees or rock a little bit side to side. And then change the direction of the circle. And then bring the knees to center, and without dumping weight into the lower back, lightly draw the knees a little bit closer to the body. Soft, gentle touch here especially. And then one at a time, we're together, place the feet on the ground. Shavasana, final relaxation. So as needed, roll to your side and take whatever is helpful to lie down with ease. Perhaps have something behind the knees. Have something perhaps behind the head. And as you lie down, take the feet as wide apart as the hips, and let the feet roll open some amount to the side. Take the arms either to the sides of the body and rotate the arms so that the palms face up, or bend the elbows and lay the palms down on the belly. Once you're positioned, line your nose up with your navel, and then just pay attention tonight to the touch of the eyes closing, the eyelids on the eyes, the eyelashes, the upper eyelashes against the lower eyelashes. Become aware of the touch of the back of the body against the ground. And gently adjust so that you're touching equally side to side. And then let the body settle into the earth, feeling the touch of the back of the body against the earth become more profound. Feel the air
touching the sides and the front of the body, and those parts of the body touching back into the air. Soften the face and feel the touch of relaxation penetrate through the entire being. Touch the mind lightly to the breath and trace the movement of the breath, noticing the gentle yet pervasive touch of the breath as it comes into the body. And notice the release as the breath leaves. And let your sense of touch expand until there is only touch, sensation, meeting sensation, meeting sensation, meeting sensation, until there is a sense of no particular touch, no particular sensation, but an experience of the totality of touch. touch of the sound. And feeling into the breath. Deepen the touch of the breath. The next inhale, exhale. And then one at a time, bend the knees, place the feet on the ground. Pause and feel the soles of the feet touch the floor. And then supporting the head with the right arm as needed, roll to your right side. And then after a pause there, fresh yourself up, come to sit. Sitting well, close your eyes. Join your hands together at your heart. May we stay attuned to the presence of touch as the foundation of all experience. And may we also stay attuned to the touch that we need and give that to ourselves through our experiences. We'll seal the practice with a single Om. Take a full breath in. Thank you. Namaste.